Hello, movie lovers. Welcome back to SignaTeek channel. Today is all about fresh cinema experiences, and I can't wait to share my thoughts on the newest film making its mark. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the recap of this exciting cinematic adventure. This motion picture starts with clarification that a long time back, there was a mysterious timberland which housed the source of life, which was secured by a gatekeeper. But one day a man came who inquired for a small vitality to spare his girl, who was almost to go to the life following death. So the gatekeeper trusted him and gave him this little portion to spare his girl. In any case, the man before long returned with a huge armed force, which needed to seize the source. So an encounter emerged where no one won, since the people were shot down and the gatekeeper was cleared out exceptionally frail. So the gatekeeper raised an unused law where men will not be able to enter this timberland any longer. Time passes. We meet a young lady named Mavka, who wakes up within the woodland, and we take a note that nature prospers around her. So at the side, a companion, they cheerfully walk within the woodland where we see that there are diverse animals of diverse styles living there. On the other hand, we see an adjacent town, which could be an incredible party. Whereas they see an interesting truck arrive. At the same time, a boy named Lucas is told that his uncle isn't feeling exceptionally well, so he goes domestic, whereas a lady named Kalina gets out of the truck, who is upbeat to see the individuals who she tells them that she is the daughter of the man who need to seize control within the woodland. So she tells them that much appreciated to the fiendish gatekeeper. She was cleared out alone in a halfway house, whereas she tries to enlist them to wrap up the mission that her father begun, so they all deny since it would be exceptionally perilous. On the other hand, we see that Navia liberates a feeling and indeed recuperates it with her powers. At the same time, they caution her that the guardian is calling them. Returning to Lucas, they tell him that his uncle needs some medicines, so he breaks his piggy bank to go purchase them. But since they take an atoll apart, he goes to see those who offer great work. So Kalina tells him that he has got to go to the forest for an interesting takeoff. Returning with Navia, they arrive with the gatekeeper, who is as of now exceptionally ancient, whereas Mavka tells him that she found traps on the edge of the timberland. So the gatekeeper vanishes her, whereas they take note that she is as of now exceptionally powerless. At that point, the gatekeeper tells them that at night, the spirits will select the modern gatekeeper since he has small vitality cleared out. Whereas we notice that Mavka does not have exceptionally great companions since they keep telling her things. Later we see that Lucas, together with two others, enter the timberland where one needs to wed a monster, but Lucas does not permit it, whereas the others realize their nearness, so they take off Lucas alone to proceed with the mission. At that point, the monsters are running absent, so Mavka gets on one of them and spares her from a fall. So they clarified to her that they saw people, so she goes seeking out for him and sees Lucas playing his woodwind. Whereas she takes note that music enacts something in her. Afterward, he inadvertently shocks him and he gets to be oblivious. So they take him absent where he wakes up and they meet, for which they present themselves, and he tells them that he only went for a leaf to assist his uncle. Whereas Mavka realizes that men are not as fiendish as the legends portrayed him. On the other hand, we see that the other two run into the other young ladies, so it appears that they are in inconvenience. Returning to Mavka, knowing that Lucas spared the creature, he chooses to assist him with the edge he is looking for to spare his uncle from her, while an animal tries to halt it as it accepts it, is unsafe, in spite of the fact that Mavka persuades him. In the meantime, the other young ladies appear their genuine character and go against them, so they attempt to elude from them. At the same time, Mavka appears him, Herput, and Lucas is astounded at the nature there. At that minute, the animal called Lesh covers up Lucas. Since the gatekeeper is drawing closer, so Lucas disguises himself as one of them, and the gatekeeper appears to be playing traps, since they tell him that he comes from distant away to witness the changing of the gatekeeper. In the blink of an eye after, we see that the lowlifes return with Kalina, so she finds out that the boys remained within the forest. At the same time, we see that Kalina gets out of control and employments an awful one to restore herself. But it runs out. So we discover out what does the cheek need to do more? Whereas passes, we see that the animals bolster within the woodland, where the gatekeeper presents the elements that encompass them, who are the spirits. So he asks them to choose the modern protect. So they start to assess them all, and they before long select Miko, so she looks unreliable, but the gatekeeper tells her that they are astute and never make botches, so she is the finest to do it. At that minute, the spirits lift her up and allow her the power she ought to ensure the constrain, so take off everyone impressed. Then the past gatekeeper tells him that he will need to ensure the forest at all costs, whereas a few are energized, but a few others are not seen so much, which appears to be suspicious of Lucas in mask. So they appear everybody that wonder has really brought a human to the heavenly sanctuary. Ravka at that point makes a diversion for him to elude, whereas the former guardian inquires for an explanation while Lucas tries to elude from the creatures. So a chase emerges where the boy goes through a few things, so he is approximately to fall, but Ravka spares him, gives him a transport, additionally a medication to remedy his uncle. At that point, when that was chasing him, arrives and realizes that Ravka let him elude. So he tells her that more people will come and they will all be misplaced. Whereas Mapko, as it were, sees that Lucas's woodwind was harmed and repairs it for him. On the other hand, Colina sees that Lucas did go out, but he went domestic, so she sends somebody to observe him, who sees that he gives the medication to his uncle, who feels way better with it. At the same time, a chicken tries to alarm Absent the spy. At that minute, a pound is approximately to drop on the pet, but it turns out that the fellow spares it without an issue, since presently he is much healthier and they choose to take off the house happy, while the fiendish spy oversees to enter and take the edge in spite of the fact that he does not take off clean and the chicken course. While we see that Marcus seems to miss Lucas a parcel and can't stop considering almost him afterward, the spy brings the edge to Selena, which she is energized almost, but she knows she will require more from it, so she plans to discover a way to do it. The another day, we see that Ravka comes out of the woodland and spies on the humans, whereas attempting to find Lucas, so she disguises herself as a human so they do not know her. So she manages to discover him and he tells her that his uncle is superior than ever. So she gives him her repaired woodwind and tells him that she would like him to play Indeed one more time before she returns. So he welcomes her to the nearby showcase, where we see that the spy is following them and keeping them educated to her boss, whereas the lovebirds have fun dancing among the individuals, so she is inspired. At that point, sometime recently, she clears out her. He plays her song on her woodwind, causing vitality to activate in her. Whereas one comments that he is a satanic being from the constrain, at that point killing his henchman Catcher, her and Lucas as well, so Kalina needs to finish her off, but with her magic and the assistance of some others, including the past watch, she appears to be able to elude. At that point, Kalina takes the opportunity to persuade the others that they are an extraordinary threat and needs them to go against them. Will they explain to her that she ought to not trust people? Later, they inquire Lucas to compose an outline where the clears out are. Will they appear him that he has his cherished so he has no choice than he does, but he realizes that it was not truly Navia. Whereas he sees that, they bolt him in a room that will before long be overflowed. On the other hand, the past gatekeeper tells Make of the story of that human who inquires for hope for his girl and how he returned with more people to require everything. So he confesses that he conjured forces from the black market, which filled him of rage to be able to ensure the timberland, but that was unleashed so much that it crushed everything around it, counting blameless villagers. At the same time, Kalina prepares herself with a huge machine, which will open the timberland by force while the people take after it. At that moment, we see that the creatures are adjacent, holding up for the encounter. Whereas Mavka considers she knows how to halt what is to come, then he employments his vitality, and it appears that he starts to halt the machine. But sometime recently wrecking it, he tells Kalina that they can all live together and even bolster each other, since he knows that she was spared by a bit of the vitality of the woodland. Although the fiendish she tells him that she isn't truly the man's girl, but the spouse who has been kept. Youthful, much appreciated to that vitality, but presently needs more. In expansion, she lies, telling them that Lucas really deceived her since she paid him to create the outline to induce there. So Ravka is disappointed and begins to lose quality. At that minute, Kalina takes advantage and keeps going with her machine, whereas taking off Navi lying. Since of this, they go up against people, whereas Lucas's pet lets a few animals know almost the circumstance of his ace, so they go to the house of the evil ones and attempt to assist him. Returning to the forest, it appears that the situation is very even and it is known who will win. Returning with Lucas, he is saved by the animals and they clarify the circumstance to him. Well, seeing what is happening, tries to assist him, but it appears that his vitality is diminishing. So to save his individuals, he summons the evil being of the underworld, who gives him the fire with which she will procure incredible control, but he will fill with fury. So she does it and changes into an awfully diverse one, which begins thumping down everything in its way, counting timberland animals. So Lucas, realizing this, needs to calm her down, so he gets as near to her as he can, but doesn't appear to hear it. At that point, she plays her flute, with which it appears that she activates her positive energy in her, so the others, seeing this, also sing along with Lucas. So Mavka begins to end it up mindful and tries to induce freed of the fiendish powers she had for what makes it, but appears to lose it. Whereas we see that the wicked being has her in the black market and tells her that by atoning, she will stay there forever. And the movie ends here. Thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed this film recap and want more, subscribe now, like, and share captivating stories with your friends. Tell me which movie you'd like me to summarize next. See you soon.